Hello and welcome to Anime Kiwi special number 4. This week we will be talking about the movie Angel's Egg. As always, I'm Mike, and today I'm joined by...
Roundabout.
And Cat
Angel's Egg was a movie made in 1985, and it was a collaboration between Mamoru Oishi, who did Ghost in the Shell and Pat Labor, and Yoshitaka Amano, who's probably most well known for his Final Fantasy illustrations, or maybe Vampire Hunter D. And yeah, Random Battle sold this movie to us as being a bad movie, and
I didn't necessarily say it was a bad movie.
You said those words. You said
nothing happens in it.
You said it's a horrible movie.
It is a horrible movie.
It's really
nothing
not.
Happens in it. It's a nothing movie.
I would disagree quite strongly with nothing happening in it.
Plenty of stuff happened. It was a good movie.
Nothing happened. Nothing happens in this movie.
One detail about Oishi I think is kind of important to the movie. He said in an interview about it that this movie is very personal to him, and I think that relates to when he was younger, he was in seminary to be a Christian priest. And at some point, something made him lose his faith. He never said what it is. But I think this movie deals pretty heavily with that event in his life.
I actually got a quite strong sense from this movie that there was something, it wasn't just, like in a lot of Japanese games that I've played, you can see that they use Christian subtext quite a bit. Like it's a recurring thing that I've seen a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But with this movie, I didn't necessarily get the sense that they were just using that as like a visual thing.
Yeah.
That it was more personal.
Yeah, there was...
Like one really strong sense I got from the film is that it was, like, especially towards the end of the movie, I got the sense that the filmmaker had felt that God had sinned rather than people had sinned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got that too.
It's too bad none of this actually makes any difference in the movie because nothing actually happens.
Well, it doesn't matter if anything made a difference in the movie.
Well, if Random Battle thinks that nothing happened, I think I should run through the plot a bit and explain to people what exactly happens.
Go for it.
So in the start, you see that kind of a vessel, looks almost like a giant eye.
Yeah, I was not sure what was up with that.
I think that is actually supposed to be like a godly vessel, and it brings the angel down, who is the girl who is carrying the egg, right?
Okay.
And the egg could be a metaphor for a lot of things. Yeah. I think it kind of symbolizes, like later on in the film, you see a person who's ostensibly supposed to be God breaking the egg, almost like he's trying to prevent the Ark from realizing what has happened, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, the film goes on and they're wandering around and this God person has forgotten who he is, but he's drawn to the angel. And you can see that he's still holding on to some anger or some hate. And he eventually breaks the egg, which prevents the angel from rebirthing it, and so that it could return to the Ark.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see visually there's a lot of like trees holding up eggs of what I think are supposed to be eggs that had failed to be reborn. Like this is a cycle that plays out over and over.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually, you can see much more eggs being rebirthed from a version of the angel that looks much older in the water. So the sense that I gotten from that is that this is a cycle that's going to play out for a really long time. And then eventually you see God standing on the beach as that vessel comes out, and you can see there's like a statue of that angel holding the egg.
Yeah.
And that's where I really started to get a sense that I think that, as I said, this is a film that kind of tries to get the message across that it was God who'd sinned by flooding the earth.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see that this angel is very revered, whereas God had intentionally destroyed the egg that she carried to the Ark. So, and as you can see when the camera pans out slowly, you can see that that huge city that they were in had been built on what looks like an overturned ark.
Yeah.
So like, and the entire Earth has still flooded.
Although from what I remember, the Ark is generally shown as having a covered top like that too, so it could just be the top. I'm not sure exactly.
It looks kind of overturned to me, though
Yeah.
I'm not certain.
One thing about this movie is I think you can say it about a lot of stuff, but especially this and maybe other art stuff, that it's really open for basically whatever you want to find in it. Everybody can probably find something different of their own in it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Unlike
I
other
think,
stuff that's more
but-
straightforward, and it's like, this probably means this and not this.
I'm just running down, like, to me that was the basic plot, you know?
Yeah.
And I think...
I find it ridiculous you call this guy God when he's just a rank and file soldier walking around. And even says that in like the 3 lines of dialogue in the entire movie. Like, he's not important. He's just a dude. He's just a random soldier. Like,
I think he's definitely supposed to be God. Like,
in what way?
If you don't read him as being God, then the movie then you're right. Then nothing happens. But if you read him as being God, then everything in the film has meaning.
There's no way to get that from the movie. It doesn't make any sense. He doesn't. There's no part that's like, oh yeah, that's got to be a representation of God. You know, God, the ordinary man, walking with the rest of his soldiers. Like, I don't... Where are you getting this from?
Well, he's never walking among those soldiers.
And I don't even know if those were soldiers anyways. I think those were just people.
They were fishermen.
Yeah. Because I'm pretty sure the shadowfish were also meant to represent God, because fish is... or God or Jesus or whatever, because fish is a pretty common symbol for that.
In one of the interviews I read back when I first watched the movie, they were referred to as soldiers, and the guy is referred to as the soldier. So I'm just going off of what they said in the interview.
I think going off whatever that interview said isn't really relevant. Like, I think just from what I saw in the movie and the way that it unfolds, I got a very strong sense that that's what they were trying to get across with his character. And especially with him walking around holding a cross on his back the entire time.
Well, it's like a big weapon. It's like a gun or something.
It's a cross. Like, it really obviously is a cross.
Well, yeah, it is a cross, but it's also like got like a trigger and stuff on it. Like, he definitely... And there's like tanks and stuff with the rest of the soldiers. Like, they're definitely soldiers.
I don't think that necessarily discounts the reading that I had of the film necessarily.
No, I don't see where you get that from other than just creating it from nothing. Which I guess is what you have to do because there's nothing in this movie. I have nothing to talk about. Like, it's so open to interpretation that, like, I could say anything and you go, yeah, I guess that might be right. I don't know.
That's kind of the point of art.
That's bad, though. That's bad art.
Is it?
Yeah,
it's not.
I think so. If you can't look at something and have a definitive answer in any direction at all about it, that's not good. That's just confusing and meaningless.
Wait. Are you saying that art should have one proper reading? Because I would disagree with that, like, really, really strongly.
I think that there should be a reading to it.
Well, I had a reading, and I'm confident in my reading of visual metaphor and everything.
Yeah, I mean, my reading was slightly different. I think the cross dude was more of a director insert than it was a god figure. But
it's a movie. It needs to be a watchable movie.
It was watchable.
I don't think this isn't at all.
It was the movie was beautiful for one thing.
It's so meaningless and pointless.
I would agree with it being quite beautiful.
A 3-minute movie and be exactly the same thing.
I don't think so. I think the pacing is quite important.
And
I think
you wouldn't get any of the really, really gorgeous imagery or the soundtrack that fits kind of perfectly. The soundtrack in this movie is really good, I thought.
I think, the soundtrack is like half of the way that the movie builds mood, and I was like towards the end of the movie, I was really trying to find a good word to describe the emotional state the movie puts you in, and I just couldn't find a word for it. Like, it's not quite stress or anxiety, and it's not quite like melancholy or ennui. Like, it sort of fits in the middle of a lot of those emotions, and I found the movie not necessarily off-putting, but it puts you in, like, I just didn't feel good, but in like in a good way, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, it's kind of just putting you off balance a little bit.
Yeah, it's a very strange and very surreal movie, and I like that sort of stuff quite a bit.
And
I watched that movie, and I just come out of it going, okay.
And I think
that's fine.
Yeah, that's what you got out of it. Everybody's going to get something different out of this.
I don't think that's fine. I think there was a waste of my what is now like 3 hours. Could have done anything in those 3 hours.
Well, like if you go to an art gallery and you look at a surrealist painting or something, like going up and saying, "Well, I didn't get anything out of this painting, so it means nothing." Like, you know, that's the entire point of surrealism.
Yeah.
Is to try and provoke an emotional response that isn't necessarily like logical.
It's almost trying to make order out of chaos.
Like if you look at something that's surrealist, which this movie definitely is, it's extremely surreal. If you can look at that and it gives you a particular feeling, like it did with me, or that I couldn't quite describe, then that movie absolutely is succeeding at what it's trying to do. Like, even if I didn't find like a plot in there, even if I didn't find some sort of visual metaphor for some idea, I think I still probably would have liked it, just because it's such a strong tone piece. It's so visually striking on top of that.
Yeah, it's
like there's a lot to get out of this movie.
It's basically like watching a painting that moves.
Yeah, exactly. I got more of a like a storybook out of it, like an extremely well animated storybook, but similar sort of thing.
Yeah, but Amano's an illustrator, so I guess a drawing that moves. It's a piece of art, a moving piece of art. Doesn't. Really
but I will say one negative thing about the movie.
Okay.
Is that I wasn't crazy about the character designs. I think they look like they were stoned. So when you have scenes where characters are looking at each other and not saying anything, it just looks like two stoned people just sort of staring at each other.
I can understand that. The Amano's character design art style is... Some people don't take to it, I feel, but I tend to like it a lot.
It's just like outside of that, like especially with scenes with the angels like flowing hair and stuff like that, I think that looks quite nice. It's just the characters' faces look really strange and off to me for some reason. Yeah,
that's just how his character designs look. Go look at any of the character designs for the first 6 Final Fantasy games, which he did. He actually designed the characters for those games himself. He didn't just do the art for them.
I've seen some of those designs, like especially the what's the protagonist name in for the first half at least for Final Fantasy VI? It's like Ceres or something, isn't it?
6, I couldn't tell you.
Well, whoever the main character is for like the first half of that game, like I quite like those character designs, especially her, and like the way that he designs like Kefka.
Yeah,
I think it looks quite neat.
I was going to say Kefka. He looks a lot.
But for some reason, especially in the eyes in these character designs in this film, they just look kind of tired or stoned.
Yeah, that's just how he does stuff. I tend to like it. I think his style is very pretty, and I really like his mechanical design work.
Something I quite liked, like as the movie was unfolding and everything, and you can see that one of the really obvious, like visual motifs is water, like with the angel constantly trying to find bottles and drinking water and all sorts of other imagery relating to water, and then as the movie continues and kind of builds on that idea, and then eventually, you know, the reality of what's happened with the sunken ark and stuff like that, I like how it kind of builds on that visual metaphor to kind of almost like a crescendo.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure what was up with the bottles.
Yeah, this movie is very, very obsessed with glass and water, like very recurring. visual sort of metaphor.
Yeah. What do you think of the shadowfish scene? I think that was probably at least the first one. I think that was probably one of my favorite sequences in the movie. I thought it was really well done.
I like a lot of the industrial type design,
Mm-hmm.
especially like the way that the buildings look and the way there's almost like semi-organic, like tank looking things.
Yeah, those are cool looking.
And a lot of that sort of stuff. Like the whole movie, aside from kind of stupid looking characters in the faces at least, is, you know, it's incredibly striking. Like,
Oh yeah.
I recommend anybody that's listening to this, if they're into really interesting art design, definitely check it out. It's really good.
Well, that's just what makes it disappointing. Is like there's all this interesting stuff, and it doesn't do anything with any of it.
I would disagree, but I also think the fact that we disagree is A-okay, and I'm not going to call you stupid or anything.
Yeah. I think it did plenty with what it was.
But I think it would be cool if Random Battle gave us some like a clear idea of
Why he didn't enjoy
his sort
it.
of his reading of the film specifically.
It was just completely like pointless. Like you could have cut out so much of the movie and not really lost anything. And I think that's more my problem with it. It's just like it could have been way more interesting. The character designs were neat. I wanted to know more about what was going on, but it didn't do any of that.
I think it did just enough to kind of lead you on your own path to figure out what's going on. And I don't necessarily think that films should have, not all the time at least, should have a clear reading to them. I think any movie that provokes a lot of thought, I like to watch those sort of movies
Yeah.
every now and then.
Been a while since I saw a good arty-ass art film, so this was refreshing in a way.
I don't know. I spend most of my time figuring out stories and things like that. I don't need to sit down and do that for a movie as well. Like I get plenty of that when I'm writing already. I don't need to then do that again because they wanted to be arty. Like just make your movie and tell your story. Make something interesting happen. That's why I'm watching a movie. See something interesting. If I wanted to just make up a story, I just go make up a story. I don't need to watch a movie to then go, oh, let me figure out what's going on. That's boring.
Well, as Mikey said, supposedly this is a very personal film, and I think sometimes when it comes to arty-ass art films like this, they very often are very personal, and whether or not you get anything out of the film or whether or not it has a clear plot isn't really relevant.
But you can do all that while telling, a decent story and making it exciting and interesting to watch. Like, it's not mutually exclusive at all.
But you don't... Exactly, but you don't need to do that.
But you should. Like, you don't need to make a good movie, but you should.
I mean, like with poetry, most poems aren't going to have a clear through line for what's going on. It's just going to evoke something within you. And I think that Angel's Egg is more akin to a long-form poem than is to prose writing, if you're going to make that parallel.
I think a lot of this has to do with expectation when you watch a film, like exactly what you want out of a movie, exactly what you want story-wise and things like that. If you go in expecting one thing and then get something entirely different that you don't like at all, then I think it's completely fair and right, if for you at least, to come out of it not liking it. But what I'm saying is that this movie definitely has merit, and to discount it on the fact that it doesn't have like a clear plot, I think that kind of misses the point.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a mass market movie. This is probably one of the most art housey things I've watched.
Yeah, this is a movie made for one person, and whether or not anybody else likes it
is
kind of
just
irrelevant.
Completely,
is not relevant at all.
If you get something out of it, great, cool. I'm sure he's happy that you got something out of his story, but it doesn't matter too much.
But yeah, have we run out of things to say?
I think we might have run out of things to say about this. I mean,
I told you this would happen.
I mean, it's pretty short. We've gone over our interpretations of it. I think that the guy with the cross is almost directly an insert for Oishi, and it's an allegory for his following Christianity and then losing his faith and going away from it completely, while still finding something interesting about it.
I guess that definitely, I can see where you would get that idea. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like it's just I felt like,
And especially with the
sorry, go on.
especially with the shadowfish scene, I feel like that helped reinforce it. Because if you take the interpretation that those fish are God or Jesus metaphor, the fishermen are trying to get hold of it somehow, and they're failing to do that. So I feel like maybe that's what he was trying to do when he was in seminary. He was trying to get a handle on God or what he believed in reference to God, but he wasn't able to, or something actively pushed him away from it, or made it impossible to get to.
Just that that final shot with the eye coming out of the water and all those statues and everything, and him staring at it, it felt almost accusatory, the way that the shot was framed. Like
Yeah.
him specifically focusing on that statue of the angel with its egg and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. The words I've read was that his faith was shattered, so I feel like it must have been something like big shit went down that did it. So it might actually be accusatory, like you say. I feel like it's not just, oh, I don't believe in this anymore. Just, oh, this is not a thing that I can do.
I just got kind of a sense that like that big eye thing with the statue is saying, you know, you fucked up real bad by smashing that egg.
Mm-hmm.
This is clearly something very revered, and you've done something kind of evil and selfish. But maybe that's kind of a metaphor for his like typically how organized religion reacts to somebody losing their faith is to, you know, reject them and get angry at them. So I do see exactly where you're coming from with your reading of it.
But yeah, other than that, I think we've probably covered what we're going to cover.
It's going to be a short one this time, is it?
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever. We're still going to get 20 minutes out of it. That's a good little mini podcast.
But I do want to emphasize that that random battle coming out of this negative and hating the film, like, is completely fine. And you know,
like I said at the beginning,
if anything,
everybody's going to get something different out of it.
I don't necessarily hate the film. I think the film is just completely worthless. Nothing the film. I have no opinion on the film because it's just so lacking on many, many levels.
Which is fine. I'm if anything, I'm always happy with somebody who's really honest about what they feel when it comes to movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't like people that go, oh, this is the consensus, so I'm going to follow the consensus. I find that really off-putting.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm going to watch a big, like, popular crowd pleaser or something like that, you tend to find a lot of people look at, like, the Rotten Tomatoes and go, oh, this has got a 98 and you hated it. You must be wrong. It's like, fuck off, dude.
Yeah. Now, Street Fighter 2, the animated movie. Now, there's a movie. It's got everything you need.
I would have been happy with that. I like Street Fighter. I've seen that movie anyway, and I like it, so...
I probably would have been happy with that, but I'm happy we got this. It's probably not something I would have watched otherwise.
I'm really happy we didn't watch Digimon the movie.
I'm not happy. But I'm never happy, so what else is new?
But anyways...
You've got to be the happiness in the world, Random Battle. Find your own happiness, your own center.
Find your bliss.
I try.
You tried so hard, and it doesn't even matter?
Yeah. I can't say I got so far, because I didn't. I didn't get very far at all.
Yeah, Angel's Egg. It's a thing. I highly recommend watching it. I liked it a whole lot.
I also highly recommend it.
I'll probably come back to it at some point, too. And I'm sure I'll get something different out of it the next time.
If you go in expecting absolutely nothing, it'll live up to those expectations.
I would actually say you saying that kind of helped me with the movie because I didn't go in thinking I was going to get like an in-depth and fast-paced plot or anything. It
Yeah.
kind of set expectation for me,
Yeah.
I warned you guys. Nothing's gonna happen.
and I'm fine with that.
Yeah. I mean, I just had Cat Doder watch a movie where nothing really happened. Which
I would actually say I like this movie more than that one.
I need to watch that one again before I can say that. It's been a few years since I've seen it. I haven't watched it yet because I haven't gotten a date from our co-host yet. This is when we're going to record. And I will talk more about that in the wrap-up housekeeping section.
Which is probably now.
Yeah.
Isn't that now?
First, let's give our, I guess, ratings on this movie. So out of 10.
I would give it a 9 just because of the gawpy looking faces. That's just 1 point knocked off.
I give it an empty vessel out of 10 because I don't feel anything towards it.
That'd be a 5.
No, 5 is a number. I don't even feel that much towards it.
Well, 5 indicates not strong feelings either way.
Yes. I think, yeah. Okay. And I think I would go with the 9 as well. I'm not sure what it would take for me to give it a 10. But I feel like, I don't know, it just didn't quite hit the 10 out of 10 masterpiece level for me.
Most movies don't.
Yeah.
What if instead it had a bunch of live action footage inside of it?
Yeah, what if? I think we should actually do that now.
What would you think about that?
Do you want to do the commentary track for that now?
Sure. Yeah, I'd be up with it.
Want to do that tomorrow, maybe?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I just want to find out what the hell that thing is.
Okay.
I was going to watch it, but I never did.
Okay, we'll do that tomorrow. We are talking about... Let me find the name of it real quick. We are talking about a 1988 sci-fi movie called In the Aftermath. It's a live-action movie that used parts of this for somehow, and I'm not exactly sure how. But
I zipped through it real quick, and it just jump cuts from anime to people.
So
but why?
It seems the weirdest thing ever.
So I guess
I'm just really curious about this now.
Yeah, so I guess we're gonna have a commentary track up for that. It'll be recorded by the time you hear this. And I guess I'll put it out in a couple days after this is released. But that said, let's get into housekeeping stuff. As always, like and comment on this video, subscribe to our channel. I don't say it too often, but go give us a rating on iTunes. You can reach us on Facebook at facebook.com/thegamekiwi. You can reach us on Twitter.
Did you just say Dongcom? Sound like you said Dongcom.
I might have said Dongcom.
Don't go to Dongcom. It's a bad place.
I don't know, is it? Let me find out. Hang on.
You can reach us on Twitter at thegamekiwi. You can see our ratings for this and other anime things we've watched on my anime list. Our username is GameKiwi, one word. The G and the K are capitalized. And I think that might be it.
Dongcom just takes me to a bunch of people's Facebook pages, so don't do that.
I think that might be it. So I don't know if AP is going to be back to continue getting into the home stretch of Legend of the Galactic Hero stuff.
What do you mean home stretch? This is just the end of the first season. There's like 4 more seasons after this.
But we're not watching those. So I don't know if AP's going to be around for that. So I'm just going to preemptively say next week we'll be watching the first Gundam movie with Cat Doder.
Hooray!
But yeah, that was Angel's Egg.
I actually wanted to check out that movie that Jinro movie with the Killzone looking guys, just
Oh
because
yeah, Jinro.
the summary
It's good.
sounded really interesting.
Oh, do you
It's a
want
good
to watch?
movie.
Do you want to watch Jinro instead? I'm fine with that. I've never seen it.
We were talking about Jinro the other day. It's pretty good.
It has the Killzone guys in it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I mean, it came out before Killzone, so I think it's more the other way around. But
okay, so next week AP probably won't be here for Legend of Galactic Heroes, so we will be watching.
we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Either Mobile Suit Gundam, the first movie, or Jinro, the Wolf Brigade. So I guess watch those and look forward to whatever movie we decide to do.
Yeah.
Until next week, I'm Mike.
I'm not Mike.
I might be Mike.
And this has been Anime Kiwi. Thanks for listening, and as always, keep it anime.